Now You See Him, Now You Don't is the 21st Mary-Kate and Ashley Two of a Kind book, and I will say I've recorded this 2 times before now, and I kept getting notifications on my phone for various things disturbing my recording. So if I forget to say something that seems like an obvious thing I should mention, I apologise. It's because in my brain I have mentioned it, but hopefully that won't be the case. I didn't think I'd love this because it's about magic tricks, and I generally don't care about magic tricks, but I found this to be really, really fun. It's a tradition for the boys at Harrington to team up with the girls at White Oak and put on a magic show. And Mary-Kate and Ashley are taking part. And I will, in a little bit, with a spoiler warning, talk about what their tricks are and also ultimately what I thought of the execution of those tricks. In general, though, the pacing is great. The tricks are quite varied and in some cases unpredictable. There's a mystery that I did not work out until it was revealed. There is a little bit of predictability, and I will tell you, again, with a spoiler warning in a bit, the part that I thought was predictable, but it still didn't necessarily play out exactly as I was expecting, so it's not completely predictable. And I thought it was a really fun concept, very well executed, a really fun, delightful read. I think I've used the word fun far too many times, but that's the best way to describe it. It's very well done. Here, of course, we have the cover, rather like the cover design, and for anybody who's interested, there we have the back of the book, and as is usually the case with Two of a Kind, we have quite short chapter sizes and a fairly large writing ideal for the target audience. Very well written, no complaints with the writing at all, and the story itself was very well done. So I will now, with a big spoiler warning, tell you what the tricks were and share some other spoiler thoughts. So Mary-Kate's trick involved training a horse called Sugar, who she'd recently ridden. The horse was really cooperative, so she thought, I can train this horse to be part of this card trick. And whenever they held up the wrong card, Sugar would shake her head. And when it's the right card, she'd nod her head. And then she goes to the stables with Ashley, and Sugar is suddenly not cooperative. And I genuinely didn't work out why that was the case. It turns out, and as I said, this is a spoiler, that it was a different horse called Sugar who happened to look so much like the other Sugar. And it made sense once everything unfolded, and I was really keen to see how the trick would play out, and I rather enjoyed it. Ashley's initial trick was kind of dull. They were sawing her in half, very classic trick, not that interesting. But then one of the teachers wears this tie every single day, this kind of colourful tie, and when Ashley is at a vintage store, she finds an identical tie, and she suddenly gets the idea to use this tie in a magic trick to cut up the teacher's tie. Of course, there she's going to be cutting up the replacement tie, but it will look like the real tie, and put it back together. And I kind of predicted where this was going. I did predict that she'd accidentally cut up the wrong tie. Otherwise, I feel like it would have been kind of anticlimactic. But I didn't predict how the teacher would react. I also didn't predict why he wore the tie every day, so there were some things there that I hadn't figured out that were kind of interesting to discover. It wasn't a bad trick. I was keen to see how it would play out, and I rather liked it. So despite the fact I don't care about magic tricks, I actually quite liked Now You See Him, Now You Don't. I feel like it was a pretty interesting story. Not a great title, to be honest. I don't love the title of it, but other than that, pretty good story, pretty good book. And if you're a fan of Mary-Kate and Ashley, then it's definitely worth reading.